My name is Heber Brown. I'm blessed to pastor a church in Baltimore called Pleasant Hope Baptist Church. Thank you so much for your presence here today. And for many of us in this room, we've been running on this marathon for a little while now, so I'm really thankful that we've stuck with it, because other groups have stopped much shorter than what we've done. And I got a sneaky suspicion that there are some legislators that are waiting for us to get tired too. Waiting for us to stay home and just give up. But we're still here, and so I want to thank God for each of you. We're going to have a Freedom School session in a moment, but we got a great suggestion from Brother Ryan that being that these nice cushiony chairs are here, and being that your tax dollars paid for, 1% in the chairs that you paid for, so let's come on and have a quick hearing in the circle.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I know these aren't bad either. These aren't bad either. These chairs aren't bad either.
Those chairs?
We'll go around and just do quick introductions. If you can just give your name. We're thankful that the gentleman from Baltimore City, Senator Faraj Muhammad, is here. We're just taking over, so y'all need to pull chairs up and just complete the circle at a time. And before we do introductions, let me share that I launched last year a program called Orita's Cross Freedom School, Orita, O-R-I-T-A. And Orita is a West African Yoruba word, which means where the ways come together. And we have been at Pleasant Hope hosting freedom schools for the past two, maybe 3 years. The first freedom school that we did a freedom school focused on Marshall Eddie Conway, who was at one time the longest serving political prisoner in the state of Maryland. And we did a freedom school in his name, and many of the persons around the circle participated in that to raise awareness not only about him, but also about the system of law enforcement in this country as well, and how we can engage it. After we did that freedom school, about a year later, we did this actually last spring, we did the Marissa Alexander Freedom School. Marissa Alexander was a woman in Florida who was at one time facing 60 years for firing warning shots. She was engaged in a relationship with a pattern of abuse, and she fired 3 warning shots on a particular day to try to get away from her estranged husband. And for those 3 warning shots that hit nobody, Marissa Alexander was arrested and was facing 60 years in prison. We're thankful that because of pressure of everyday folk, many of people in this circle I'm sure as well, putting pressure on the judicial system in Florida, they had a retrial, and right now I'm glad to report that Marissa Alexander is home. She's on house arrest, but she is home, and in fact, we were chatting last week, and we're planning to bring her to Baltimore to Pleasant Hope.
All right.
And so we're thankful for that. And so I just wanted to give you a sense of this in terms of freedom schools and this reemergence of it, give you a sense of the history behind that. But it doesn't even just start in Baltimore. Really, freedom schools have been around for marginalized communities for a very long time. It's a way that persons understand and really take hold of the educational process so that it serves their aims. So right now, for instance, the American public school system serves some interests, but many question whose interest does it serve? When your child graduates from a public school system, in essence, what has the system set them up to be? And so Freedom School says, we're going to own our own educational system, and we're going to set the curriculum. We're going to decide the terms of how we gather. And really, I'm most excited about how the Freedom Schools really blossomed in the so-called modern civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s. In fact, in 1964 in Jackson, Mississippi, Freedom Schools were organized all over that state to help put pressure on lawmakers and the police so that voting rights and other protections under the law were given to black residents in Mississippi. And so what we're doing even right now is honoring a sacred and time-tested tradition of people saying, we reserve the right to determine what the educational process should look like and how it needs to serve our interests. The circle is important, and the reason I shared with Davon and Ryan moments ago, and I said if I had my way, we would have a circle in this room. The circle is important because in freedom schools, there is no one expert, right? And so if you have chairs like on the back of this room, you have chairs like that, and you got a person like me standing up in front of chairs, without saying it, you're giving the message that I am the authority in the room. And all of you there are looking at me as the authority, and the expectation is that because the implication is that your minds are empty. And it's my job to fill your empty minds. Paulo Freire, in his work, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, writes about the banking system and the banking model of education. Freedom School is more along the problem-posing model of education that affirms the intelligence and, I want to say, the genius of everybody in the room. That each and every last one of us are a genius in our own right, if for no other thing, a genius for your own experience. And your experience will help to inform what it is that we need to do together. And so I'm thankful for this circle. I'm thankful for us reclaiming what is rightfully ours. Let me say it again. Reclaiming what is rightfully ours. So when we come to Annapolis, when we come to Baltimore City Hall, Montgomery County Council, or what have you, you can show up with a posture to say, I'm here to beg for what I need. That posture is not one that I align with. We're here to demand what we need done because we recognize that the people who occupy these seats regularly would not be here had it not been for everyday people who make donations, who knock on doors, and who campaign to have them in office. And so let's do a quick introduction. I've spoken enough. We'll go around and just do quick, just your name and what group are you here to represent, or what district are you from? We'll do a quick go around. All right, back. Okay, let's go this way.
I'm Michaela William Cranks. I'm a founding member of City Block, a student-run organization, which just popped up in the last few months.
I'm Deandre Yegan. I'm with LBS.
And tell them what LBS is for those who don't know. Leaders.
LBS, Leaders of the Youth Struggle, is a grassroots organization in Baltimore. My name is Lawrence. I'm with LBS.
Somerset County NAACP president.
I'm Julianne. I'm here with Youth United for Justice.
I'm Molly. I'm also here with Youth United for Justice.
And I'm Ethan. I'm also here at Youth United for Justice, specifically from Montgomery County.
James Pinkett, president of Dorchester County NAACP.
Elder Craig Mathias, pastor Zion Baptist Church in Cambridge, Maryland, and Somerset County County Commissioner.
Copeland Hall, past president, Somerset County NAACP.
Anthony Day, representing LBS, and the Black Book Back, and I'm the founder.
Holly Juliatis. I'm from City College and represent City Block.
Daniel White, I don't represent any specific organization. I'm just a student of Gotcha College and decided to come.
Roger Mohammed, co-coordinator for Young Leaders for Peace of the American Friends Service Committee.
It's about Brown and Common Temple. Elizabeth Lakeview, I'm representing the American Coalition of Supporters. My name is Breon. I'm with Leaders of the Youth Struggle as well as People of Baltimore.
My name is Grayson, I'm in Baltimore, Maryland.
My name is Beth Emmerling, and I'm a member of the West Coalition.
Got a few folks I think stepped out. They'll be back and get their names as well. So this.
I'm Cindy Farquhar with the Communist Party, Baltimore branch.
Quayle Commit, and Communist Party, Baltimore branch.
You can? Oh, okay, good. All right. Well, thank you. So as you can see, this is a diverse coalition, a diverse group, and we're thankful for all the groups, the church groups, the NAACP groups, the student groups, and all others, faith groups as well who are here, and even people who just decided to come because they're down for the cause. Thank you, Daniel White. Appreciate you. So I want to do a quick rundown of how a bill becomes a law. Of people, how many of you are already familiar with how a bill becomes a law in Maryland? Okay. Maybe we don't need to do that then. Well, I'll give you a quick 20-second version. There are two chambers in the state of Maryland, the House and the Senate. A bill is introduced. As you know, a bill is, well actually let me start before the bill is introduced. Before a bill is introduced, many times there are issues or there is a constituency that is concerned about a particular issue, and they go and meet with the legislator and say, hey, we want a bill on X, Y, and Z, or this is the issue we need addressed, and the legislator decides to put that bill into the session for the upcoming session. But once it gets here, the bill is introduced and it goes through what is called the first reading in the House chamber and the Senate chamber. You're welcome. House chamber and the Senate chamber, it's first reading. And after the first reading, it is assigned to a committee. And there are a number of committees. There's environmental committees, judiciary committees, ways and means committees, a whole number of committees. And so once the bill has a first reading, it is assigned to go to a particular committee to investigate it further. And so, as you'll see, and many of you have been there already in hearing rooms, the committee is the one that really goes through line by line, detail by detail of the bill once it's introduced. Once the committee reviews the bill, they give it either a favorable or unfavorable vote. If the committee votes unfavorable on the bill, essentially the bill is dead. It doesn't go any further. If the committee says we give it a favorable, and kind of like in the rooms like this, if the committee says, they take a vote and the vote is to give it a favorable view, or favorable vote rather, then it is sent for a second reading. And then after the second reading, a third reading. But here's the issue of this, that it has to pass on both sides, right, Ryan? It has to go through the House and the Senate.
That's correct.
Right? And if it's I'm going to say a clean bill, meaning there's no amendments to it, if there's no changes to it, and it passes both sides, the House and the Senate, then it goes on the fast track, right, to become a law. Am I right? Right, Neil? All right. If the Senate makes an amendment to a bill, then the amendment has to be considered by the House side as well. Ultimately, there has to be agreement on both sides to an identical bill. It has to be an agreement on it. And so any changes on one side necessitates that the other side has to review it and say if they agree with it as well. I'm giving a quick and dirty look. All right. And I'm looking at Ryan because Ryan and Neil in particular, these two as well, are definitely persons, along with many of us in the circle, persons who practically live down here. I think their zip codes have changed as well. But so the Senate passes the bill, the House passes the bill, and then once it's passed on both sides, essentially it's sent to the governor for a signature and everybody for the picture taking, and the bill becomes a law in the state of Maryland. Is anything that I might have overlooked or missed in that quick and dirty kind of overview?
Excuse me, Pastor, I'm doing the House building at once, so I'm
okay, absolutely. Okay, and so that was a quick and dirty. And so the stage that we're in now is the bills on the House side are about to have their hearing on these set of bills for today. And there's a whole range of them. If you go on Twitter or Facebook and put in Black Lives Matter hashtag, one of the things you'll see is a picture of all the bills that come up there. Some of you have seen it already. But there's bills dealing with cameras on police officers that are going forward today. There are bills on amending the Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights. And that's one of the big pieces that we've been talking about a lot. There's also bills dealing with reporting for the police department to report on various things like officer-involved shootings and the like. So there's a number of bills that are going to be heard today by the Judiciary Committee. The chairman of the committee, his name is Delegate Joe Valerio. And these names are good and important too because you've got to know who to call and who to email and put pressure on. The chairman is super important for the committee. Why? We all geniuses in the circle. Why is the chairman or the chairwoman of a committee, why are they crucial when you have a bill before a particular committee? Yeah, jump in.
I mean, I would think that because they have the voting power on that particular bill, and they can also influence the rest of the committee about which way they want to go on a particular issue, even if, and I got a question about this, but I would say they have great influence on the rest of the committee members. But